Hey everybody, it's David and Richard, and it is Friday. That means it's time for another Ask the Broker show here on the Stockton Area Realtors Group and on YouTube. So thanks for tuning in today. We have a unique topic, different topic, and it is how are foreclosures going to affect the housing market moving forward? Are we going to see a wave of them in 2022? So what's going to happen? We have some information here we want to share with you all. Just to remind you about the forbearance plans, we saw a ton of forbearances in 2020, and many analysts and experts speculated that it would lead to a wave of foreclosures and when the forbearance ended. So we're going to go over 3 reasons why we're not going to see them and we're not going to see a housing crash. But let's get into reason number 1. Richard, what do you got for number 1?
Well, reason number 1 is a pretty simple one. There's not as many people in trouble this time around as there were when we had the crash a few years back where 9 million people lost their home. There's just not as many going on. There's not as many in foreclosure, not as many in trouble. And one of the reasons, one, would be that the forbearance helped the people when they needed it, and now they're going to pull themselves out because they're back to work. Yeah. So that's going to put a lot of so-called maybe foreclosures, they're going to keep their houses.
That's true.
So there's number 1 reason. What do you have for another one?
Well, before we get on to the second one, I wanted to touch on the forbearances. When they first kicked off, there were millions of people who filed forbearances, and as time went on, more and more people weren't able or didn't need to use it, essentially. So the Mortgage Bankers Association did a study on how people exited that program, and they said about 39% of those folks paid in full, so they are no longer on it. 44% of them negotiated or restructured their loan, maybe added it on the back, so they restructured it and they're all good. So that left roughly 16 or 17% of people still in trouble or without a plan in place. So that could be an issue. There's still 17% of folks who don't have a plan, and they're still up, potentially underwater here. So that leads us to number 2. Those left in the program can still negotiate a repayment plan. And this article states that there's 890,000 loans throughout the United States or mortgages who are eligible or who don't have a plan that could go on a plan or could eventually go to foreclosure. So,
and plus in California, don't they have that the banks are supposed to try to either refinance you or allow you to sell short, but not in this case. So the refinance them, like you said, putting it on the back of the loan or doing something to keep them in the house is another reason why foreclosures are lower.
That's part of number 2 here. It says the servicing companies are really under pressure from state and federal agencies to not foreclose. They don't want a repeat of what's happened before. There's a quote here in the article that states that. So that's reason number 2. Those 890,000 loans and mortgages, they really don't want those to go to foreclosure.
Right on.
Yeah.
Of course, number 3.
The big one. It's a big one.
A big one, a great one. We love it in real estate. Is basically that there's going to be way less foreclosures this time around. The last time around, the market did this. They didn't have the equity. They walked away from their house because they were under.
Yeah.
In this case, because we've gone up so much in the last 3 or 4 years, they're going to have equity. Why would somebody give up their house, walk away from it, even if they can't make the payments, if there's $50,000, $75,000, or $100,000 sitting there in equity? They could just call us to sell their home and get a check instead of letting their house foreclose. So that's a big one because of our increase.
Yeah, I think most people would probably take that route, put some cash in their pocket versus foreclose. So I have a bonus. We have a bonus one for you. And reason literally number 4 that we're not going to see a housing crash anytime soon because of foreclosures is, if we did see some foreclosures, this market can basically absorb any new inventory that we have. There's such a strong buyer demand.
Yeah.
Inventory is so low as it is. The housing market could, as bad as it sounds, it could benefit from some foreclosures. Some buyers would really enjoy purchasing those homes.
A little more inventory.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes good sense. So it'll actually kind of help the market be a little healthier.
Yeah.
That sounds weird, but it will.
And there's a chart here in the article, and on average in 2017, 18, 19, pre-pandemic, there were on average 290,000 foreclosures a year, just in normal loss of job situation, divorces, death, whatever it may be, that caused it. There were on average 290,000 over the course of the United States. So foreclosures aren't uncommon, and we will start to see them pick up, but not in the magnitude that many were kind of forecasting when the forbearance plan took effect.
Yeah, they were predicting that we'd have the crash like we did years ago, and it's just not going to happen.
Yeah. So with that, there's a lot of good signs moving forward here that this market's going to stay really robust, really healthy. Should be a great year for 2022 and beyond. So we just want to point those reasons out to you to maybe share with all of your clients and whomever that this market should stay healthy for remaining in this year. And with that, we'll conclude this Friday's episode of our Ask the Broker show. It comes out each and every Friday, so we'll see you next week. See you then.